where are we at? Well, we've got our hatch made, looking really quite nice with all the painting and detail that we've got there. Really now we're looking at struts, top wing, but before we do all that, I'm going to take the hatch off again, and we're actually going to put our motor, install our motor into our little nose area there. So let's just put that to one side for now, and we're going to need our motor. I've got a poor broken motor here. Well, the motor's not broken. One of my little legs has come off, but that's not going to stop me. So this is a standard motor. We've started using these the black gearbox casings because they seem to be a little bit stronger. I hope. But I don't know whether that's because of they absorb the heat during the manufacturing process a little bit better, so they sort of, when the injection molding happens, all of the liquid plastic meets and bonds better. I don't know. Still, anyway, we're good to go with that. But of course, what we also need is the ply motor mount, which we've still got on the ply sheet there, and we should have, oh dear, my magnets have gone AWOL. So we're also going to need a little 4mm magnet to go into the little hole in the plywood piece that will correspond to the magnet that we've already installed within the fuselage. So I'm going to go and grab another magnet, and we'll start the process of assembly. Well, that wasn't hard to find. It was literally down to my side there, so should have been a little more eagle-eyed. So we'll pop that at the moment onto the magnet there, so we can get our orientation correct when we come to install it into here. Now let's release this. This is our plywood part P1, should be W1. I'll probably get that changed before we send out our new D1s, the non Christmas 2024 Aviatik Berg D1s. Okay, so that's that. So we now have our mount there. So what we're going to do is actually pop the magnet into that hole there right now before we install the motor. So I'm just going to extract the magnet that we put in there by just popping the knife underneath and then just lifting it away like so, so that now we know that the bit that's against the knife is the bit that we want facing down. So we pop that in like so, and that, it's a nice tight fit, but you should be able to press it through and in like so. And then we're just going to put a little bit of glue, bit of the CA glue, onto this side here, just to make sure that it holds it. But that should be a really nice snug fit as it is. So I'll just go and grab the glue, because once again I'm totally unprepared. And I don't have it with me, so let me. I think I need a new pot anyway. I think I've run out of the last lot, so I'll go and grab a brand new bottle. So here we go. My rocket odorless. Now, you don't actually have to use the odorless CA on this part here. The reason that we use the rocket odorless is that it doesn't eat into foam, but obviously there's no foam around this particular part, so any CA will do. So hopefully this is liquid enough that it'll wick into the gaps there. but also it absorbs quite well into the plywood itself. So so that's all good. Now we need to mount the motor upside down, like so. So your little legs should go through those holes in the plywood, like so. And then we're going to keep our wire underneath. We're going to tidy that up a little bit because obviously it's going to plug into the little connector on the receiver. So to hold this in place, I actually use the foam to foam, which works quite well because of its contact adhesive properties. So let's just clear the tube. I'm going to have to get a new one of these soon, aren't I? So I'm just going to put some on the wings of the gearbox. Be relatively generous. Of course, if we ever need to extract this, we can use the lighter fluid trick to actually soften the glue and remove the motor if we need to replace it or do some work on it. There we go. I put this down the wrong way and it's already glued itself to the cutting mat. So you can see on here that it's actually etched in top, so that's the top, and that's important because obviously there is an offset on the motor itself, so it induces a bit of side thrust. And in this particular model, that's quite important, as I found on my test flights. Because of its big slab sides, it tends to get hit by the prop wash more than others, which pushes the aircraft off to the left. So this will be obviously pulling to the right, and in equal quantities, so that it actually flies straight. So that's now in place. The wings are flat against the plywood itself, and we can let that dry off, and then we'll come and attach it once we're happy that the glue is dry and the motor is secure. The next step is we want to put the struts together, the interplane struts. So we are going to need several bits and pieces, including P23 and P24, which are the main components of the struts themselves. So let's just free these up. Go. And obviously these are strengthened using some carbon fibre. So you should have some carbon fibre left, and we are going to need, let's just check here. So the forward strut is going to require 51 millimeters, and the rear is going to require 49, so 51 and 49. So let's just move that over there. So 51, so we'll cut a couple of those. Just check, yep, bang on 51. then 2 49s. Go. So 49, 51. So let's just add some glue. This is the 51mm strip, so that's going to go down onto the forward strut. And we'll just position that centrally, and so it doesn't cover any of the rigging holes. There we go. Fab. Oh, there's something I didn't do. Let's just pull this off. Our little trick. Yeah, you don't need to do this. Let's remove that glue for now. The little trick of just sanding the edges or the ends of the carbon fibre down, so it allows a little more of a easy transition for the sticker once it's applied. So it doesn't take a second to do, so it's well worth doing it. There we go. Okay. Let's reapply. So there's actually still some glue on there, so let's just see if it'll happily stick. Okay. I think we probably need to apply a little more glue to that. It's not sticking as I would hope. So let's just remove this glue from the strut. Should just bead up and peel off, and then reapply. It's amazing, this this tube of glue still going. Go. Let's just grab our 49s, give them a quick sand off. There we go. And then pop this on as well. Right, I will crack on with doing this and get that one done as well, and I'll come back and we'll start applying the stickers. So now our carbon fibre is in place, we can now decorate the other side of these struts with S21, 22, 23 and 24. There's this little section here. Now, when you look closely in a certain light, you can see the cut lines on these, and you'll notice that at the top and bottom of these stickers there is a a little cutout, tiny little cutout. I have no idea how the blade does it, but it does. And you should be able to remove that. There we go. So I've removed one. I was going to show it to you, but it seems to have adhered itself to the side of the sticker sheet. And removed the other one too. There we go. So you can see now I've got a hole there and there. Now, this is S21, which is the left-hand sticker of the little batch. And if I just peel that off, just noticed that that little piece that came out is still attached. There we go. You can just about see it there on the tip of the knife. So that's out as well. And obviously these holes are where the holes are for the rigging. So let's just pop this on. I believe this is going to go onto the rear of the struts. So I'm just making sure that hole at the bottom is exposed, and then draw that up, and that should come up to the top, and there at the top we should be able to see right through the material as well. So I seem to have got that well covered, but what I'm going to do is flip it over and just make sure that it is nice and central on the plastics. So, and then we just need to do a little bit of work on the sticker just to get it flat down onto the other side, which we did on the Gabain struts as well. And I'm just going to run that knife, back of the knife, very shallow, down what is the edge of the carbon fibre, just to push the sticker down onto the plastic itself. What actually helps with this is a little bit of an overspill of the glue as well, because obviously that's acting as a contact adhesive with the self-adhesive material on the sticker. So hopefully it'll hold it down. So you notice how shallow, I mean literally I'm really shallow with the blade, because I'm just using it as a sort of a tool to push down, like so. There we go. So that's S21 down. Now S22 should be the forward element. Now another way to get these little holes revealed is you can actually just take the whole sticker off, and then while you have it out you can just pluck them. But I would probably suggest doing it while the sticker is on the backing paper. Reason being is that you're not handling it and therefore losing some of the stickiness. So it looks like the other one there has come off while peeling. So we'll take that as a bonus, and then apply once again as we did with the other. In fact, I can probably pull that down a little bit, so let's just go, that looks good. I'm going to turn it over, just position it, that's good. Then do a little trick once again with that knife, just to press home the sticker material. Okay, well, hopefully you've got the idea from that. I'll go ahead and decorate the other strut, and then we'll get them installed onto the model. Strut's done, and so now down to installing them into the wing. And we're just going to put them in temporarily at the moment, and the bottom part of the strut with the printed plastic facing outwards is how you want to orient it. So so this particular one, this is P23. This is going to go onto the right side, the starboard side of the aircraft. So it literally just goes into the slot, and you should be able to, in fact, probably go from the rear first. So just slot that in, and that should push into the wing and slide forward slightly once it's in, and then look on the reverse, and that should be up against the rib that you've previously installed on the lower wing. So that's how it sits. So we'll pop the other one in. We're not going to glue it at this stage. We're going to wait until we've got the top wing on and get everything aligned, and then we can put it. We can actually adhere it to the wing. There we go. So those are now on, and we can start rigging loosely before assembling the top wing. So let's just grab one of our rigging lines and just unravel it. Just take all of the loops out of it. Just make sure we haven't got any knots or anything. And then what we need is our rigging tool. So let's just clear the decks a little. And what we want to do is the first cable run goes from where we've attached it there up to the rearmost hole on the outer strut. So I'm just going to pop the rigging tool through the top hole there, and then pop the end of the rigging line through. You don't need to push too much through, and then just draw the rigging line through there. So we're not going to pull it tight at the moment, we're just going to leave it loose. We can do that at a later stage once the top wing is on and we're happy with how everything looks. So this now goes from there down to the low point on the forward strut. So we need to expose the hole down the bottom of the strut. I've actually taken the strut out, or certainly the front part of it out. Just pop the rigging tool through, find the end, and then pull that. There we go. Just want to pull that through too. There we go. So now we're here, we need to go up to the forward point on the cabane struts there. So let's just pop the rigging tool through from the inside out. Taking a bit of the sticker off there. Let's just try that again. Get that. Get the battery cable out of the way for now. There we go. So, rigging line through, back through that front part of the strut, the forward cabane strut. Once again, a little bit loose. And then, well, you can see that I've actually attached. Well, I haven't attached. I've just placed the carbon fibre into the little holes provided for it. It's not glued at the moment. I've just attached it so that they are free to move away. So I'll just move that away so we don't tangle up with it. And then we're going to bring that rigging wire back to the rear hole. Back to that rear hole. So it basically falls along the line of the rib at the top of the strut arrangement, like so. Make sure you don't get any of this tangled up. There we go. So that should now lie flat against the top of the strut, and make sure you don't confuse the rigging hole with the hole for the carbon fibre. You can see there are two holes. The carbon fibre is the much larger hole. The rigging hole is sitting just above that, just above the strut there. As you can see where it passes through. So then we need to pass this down to the lower interplane strut, the rearmost strut there. So just access that hole, push the rigging tool through, then pop the line through so we can capture it, and then draw that through the hole like so. That's it. So this then will cross over up to the top of the interplane strut, the forward interplane strut. So we'll go from the inside out. There we go. And just once again draw that through like so. Excellent. And then finally, this wire goes down to the other attachment point that we didn't actually put the wire through, the forward facing one, or the foremost attachment point that we installed early on in the build. So this is probably the most difficult one to achieve, and only because of its position and accessing it with the rigging tool. So you basically need to push up through. I got it. My eyesight's going as well. I'm going to use some tweezers just to hold the little plastic part, and then use the rigging tool to go up through. Actually, I think I've got a little bit of separation there between the two parts. If you remember when we installed it, it was folded over on itself. Just try to realign them. There we go. So I've got the rigging tool through both, and then this wire passes down in front of, I believe, let me just check. Yep, in front of the wire that we have already installed, that it runs past. So let's just pop our rigging through the rigging tool and then pull it through. I'm just going to use the tweezers again just to grab and stabilize that attachment point while I pull the thread through. There we go. Fantastic. So that is the full run, and I've just done that on the port side, and you just need to make sure that everything is relaxed, and you can leave the excess if you want, or you can shorten it a little. So I'm just going to cut it so we've got about 8 or 10 centimeters coming out, and this is always a good test of how sharp your knife is. Mine's not very sharp. So, new blade imminent. There we go. So I'm going to put that to one side because we need to put some on the tail as well. So there we go. Right, I shall rig up the other side too. You don't need to see that because you've already had the demonstration there. And then we will come back and start the process of assembling the top wing. So we've now got both sides rigged up, and obviously it's all still hanging loose till we get the top wing on, which is the next stage of the build. But before we do that, we can plug the motor in and get the motor plate down onto the area that it's sitting, or supposed to be sitting. So firstly, plugging the motor in with the tractor type aircraft with the propeller at the front. The rule is red is right. So the red wire you want going on the right hand side of the connector. These connectors are obviously they're not oriented specifically. You can plug them in either way to get the motor to turn clockwise or anti-clockwise. So red is right, and so it's just a matter of plugging this into our little connector there, like so. There we go. And then this wire we just want to tidy up somewhat and keep out of the way of these little cogs here, if completely possible. So that just requires it. The wire is quite sort of stiff and malleable, so you can actually sort of bunch it all up and then pop that on. Obviously the magnet takes straight away, and then at the front here the actual ply should come to rest on the two sort of stick up foam pieces at the front there, and obviously the sides should follow the contours of the side of the aircraft too. And just to secure it in place, we need to add a couple of drops, a couple of blobs of foam to foam, or if you're using U-Hoop, that same. One on that side, one on the top of the other sticky up foam bit, and then let those fall. And then if we ever need to remove the plate itself, we can actually do that by just putting a little bit of the lighter fluid in those areas, and that'll loosen up and allow us to lift the whole plate with motor off the aircraft, so we can access the electronics underneath. So that's the motor plate on. Right, now let's get to assembling the top wing. So for the top wing, obviously we are going to need the top wing, which is Z16. Actually, let's just get rid of the additional sheet. So there we go. That's our Z16. But we're also going to need some ribs, and those are our D20s. So there and there. Oh, sorry, no, these are D26s, and these go in the inner position there. So they're slightly shorter than the ones out there. So there is a difference. It may not be visually obvious to start off with, but the D20s, these here, D26s, those there. So we'll get preparing these. These are going to be couched with stickers as well. So on the outers we're using S19s, and on the inners we're using the S20 stickers. So let's free up let's do the inners first. So we're just taking out the D26s, and to create two ribs we just slice down the score that's already been put into them to create two parts. There we go. And then we're going to remove our S20 sticker, and what I like to do is just place this directly in the middle of the sticker. It can take a few little goes, especially when you're trying to do it under the watchful eye of the camera. There we go. And once that's centrally placed, you can then fold up the edges like so. And what I like to do is a proper fold, so I will almost distort the foam slightly one way. There we go, so that I pressured the sticker right down, and then go back on the other side, make sure that's folded, and then we can even things up, and there we have one stickered rib. Right, I'll get the other one done, and then we'll come back and start assembling it onto the top wing. So we've got those two done. Let's just get our wing out. Before we use this crease to put the undercamber into our wing, let us do that little trick with our ball tool, if you've got it available, to knock down the edges of the wing. So I'm going to use the small ball tool just to go down the leading edge. There we go. And I'll also do the tips as well, the wing tips. And then I'm going to use the larger ball tool to do the trailing edge. And the reason I'm doing it with the larger one is just to get a deeper compression of the foam. Obviously on the real wing you had a taper from around about a third into the wing towards the and then there towards the back of the wing to a point. So that's why we've done that. Just do that on the underside as well. There we go. So now I'm just going to fold the wing along that crease just to make sure we have that in place, so that when we attach the ribs, the wing's not trying to pull them out of shape. So as you can see with the markings that we have on here, these ribs go on the outside of the slots there that are there for the cabane struts. So so they need to be placed and glued right next to the slots. So to do that, let's get our foam to foam. And then, of course, it needs there we go. So I'm being relatively generous here. This is a structural part that obviously keeps the wing in shape, but also takes pressure from the struts, top of the struts as well. So for easy placement, I'm just going to use the tweezers to get everything into place. There we go. So I've actually got some glue in the slot there, so I'm just going to clear that. Clear that away. Excellent. And then we'll do the next one. Let's see. It seems to have some dodgy black hair that keeps cropping up. I think it's probably from Percy the dog. There we go. So let's just pop that to one side for now, and we will grab the last pair of ribs. I think that's the finale of our 2mm part as well. So a little bit of excess there that I didn't quite cut down the right line. Right, let's just split this. And then we can couch them in our S19 stickers. So my technique is to pop this on the deck, then attach at the front to the back, hopefully get it in the right place. If not, if it's got a slight curve in it, I can just nudge it with the pressure of a fingernail on my thumb so that it's as central as I can get it, and then fold it. Like so. And it's at these ends where, if any sticker's going to come loose or bend back up again, it's going to be there, because obviously there's not a lot of surface area for the glue to do its thing. So you just need to add a little bit of additional pressure, more attention on the folding, getting that crease in so it's not trying to pull back as much. There we go. And once again, this can be placed, and as the graphic depicts, these go on the inside of the slots. And I've got my aileron hinge line in woefully the wrong position, but that will that'll change on the production aircraft for this livery anyway. So hopefully yours won't be so out of whack. Let's get some glue onto the edge of this rib. And the reason I'm using the tweezers obviously is for accuracy of placement. What I'm trying to avoid is getting smears of glue all over the place. There we go. And I'll crack on with the other side, and we'll get the wing ready for installing on the fuselage. So we have our ribbed wing now. On the Aviatik Berg D.1 on the original aircraft, the trailing edge of the top wing, especially around the aileron, has a very distinct upsweep at the back. So that's something that we can actually implement into this model, essentially just by forcing the foam into a curve. So as you can see, it's starting to sweep up already. And this is actually going to assist in the stability of the aircraft too. So it's worth doing. And it just requires a little bit of time. You don't want to obviously push it too much and start creasing the foam on the top wing, but just by adding a little bit of pressure, a little bit of warmth from your hand you can start creating this upsweep on the trailing edge of the outside of the wing. You can see there it's really starting to form. So it's just a matter of just slowly bending it up slightly, warming it, and then taking it right out to the edge, and there we go. So you can see the upsweep there, and so I'll do exactly the same on the other side to induce the upsweep there, and then compare the two just to make sure we've got it as even as we can get it. So and this is something that model aircraft employ anyway at the wingtips to increase stability. This little twist at the end. So it's worth inducing, certainly before you put the wing on. It makes it a lot easier. Otherwise, you've got to hold the whole model while you try and induce this upsweep. But there we go. Right, I shall crack on with doing this, and then as soon as I feel the upsweep is to my liking, we'll attach the wing to the main aircraft. Right, now for the fun stuff. Let's bring on the model. Now the first thing that we've got to do is, if you haven't already, is attach our little carbon fibre parts to the holes in the cabane struts. Now there might need to be a little bit of trimming because obviously these two cabane struts sit inside the two ribs that we've positioned here and here, and if we haven't got the measurements exactly right, then they're probably going to push them a little bit further outside of the position that we need them to be in. So what we're going to do is just attach them for now. It's literally just pushing the tip of the carbon fibre into the holes there, and then what we're going to do is see how far away we are from those two cabane struts sitting within the margins of those ribs. So it's literally probably 0.5 mil each side for me. So it's just worth checking. I'm just trying to pop the tops of the cabanes in between those two ribs, and well, I'd say it's 1 millimeter each side. So what I'm going to do is just take them out again, and then using a pair of scissors, I'm just going to snip off a little bit on each side, around about 1 millimeter. It's obviously quite hard to judge, but I need to go and get some scissors to do so because they have been removed from my desk. Bear with me a second. So these are a little bit of overkill for the job, but at least I know that they cut okay. So there we go. So I am going to quickly sand them as well because they've compressed the carbon fibre slightly and splayed it, so just give them a quick rub down. There we go, and then reposition. And then let's see how it does. Okay, so that's a perfect fit now. So I don't know if you can see that, but both of the tops of the cabane struts are sitting within and against the ribs. So that's exactly what we need. Okay, so that's the area that we're going to attach first. What I want to avoid is getting glue on the rigging. Although with the foam to foam, it's not too much of an issue because obviously we can use lighter fluid to loosen it up. But also it takes a while for it to dry, so we'll probably be tightening the rigging before this has completely gone off and causes us any real issues. So it's worth having a quick dry fit first, obviously. So these. The tops of the cabane struts, you'll notice, have these little tabs on them, and those tabs obviously go into the slots that we have on the cut into the top wing. So we won't worry about the interplanes at the moment. We're just going to attach the centre section. So what we will do is let's just put a little bit of glue onto this carbon fibre. There we go. I'm just using the tweezers there because my fingers aren't, so I'm just transferring some glue over. Do the same on the other side, just make sure that rigging is out of the way. And then once that dries, we'll bring those together, and so that'll keep the cabanes in place when we fit it to our top wing. And as I said, we'll do a dry fit first, but I'll just let that glue dry a bit so that the contact adhesive nature of it comes into play when we push them together again. Okay, so the glue has dried somewhat. I've brought the carbon fibre and the cabanes together, and now we can just do a quick dry fit to ensure the position is good. So we know what to expect. Good. So that's how it should be sitting. Everything looks good. I'm actually looking from the top down as well, and it's nice and even. It's not twisted at all. And so that's where we want it to sit. Good. So let's pop some glue. I'm going to put it onto the inside of the ribs here. Now this doesn't travel all the way back along the ribs, so I'm only going to put it back just beyond where that slot is, which is where just beyond the tab at the top there. But it does travel to the front. So the reason to doing this is obviously there's no rigging involved on the top wing at the moment. So there we go. Oh, I went a little bit too far there. Excuse me. Ignoring my own advice. That's it. Okay. Right. Just getting those tabs into the slots. There we go. Final one in. Now I'm just going to let that rest upside down so the pressure is pressing down onto the top wing, and then I'm just going to use the tweezers to bring the plastic of the top of the cabane into contact with the rib, pressing it onto the glue, so to speak. There we go. And there we shall let it sit for a few minutes to let that glue do its thing. Okay, so we have the wing on. All we've got to do now is attach the interplane struts that sit on the outside. So that is literally popping them into their appropriate slots, the little tabs at the top, and the top wing should remain nice and straight, nice and flat. There shouldn't be any dihedral on that, just on the lower wings. So a little bit of glue, and we'll just pop some more onto the rib itself. There we go, and then just pop our strut into place like so, and do exactly the same on the other side. Now you can keep checking that you've got parallel wings. Everything should be nice and straight. It's set by the attachment to those central struts there initially. These outer struts, the interplane struts, are a little bit more flexible, and don't forget we haven't attached the lower portion at the moment, so you've got a little bit of flexibility back and forth. So let's just add a little more glue. Go, and then pop that into place. There we go. Then we can also check from the front too, so just to check that we haven't got any twists. Not particularly, well, we shouldn't have any at the moment, and it really does help if we don't, but rigging and rigging tension can help with that should we have a little bit of a twist. But the kit has been designed so that you shouldn't get any sort of any forced twist into the aircraft. The only twist we do have is the nice little tips of the trailing edge of our upper wing, which are nicely upturned now, very much like the prototype aircraft. So let's just let those struts dry out, and then we can start tensioning the rigging. Whilst that's drying, there are a couple of little things that we can do whilst we're here. One of them includes decorating the prop. So let's just, they usually come with the prop adapter inserted. I'm just going to take that out for now and pop that to one side. And then we can add our prop stickers. They're not numbered because they're obviously obvious. So all you have to do is peel them off carefully so that you don't rip them, and then apply them to each of the prop blades. Now before you do that, I'm just going to pop this back. Go. There is some lettering on the prop blades. There's a GWS, which is the brand, and there's the type that it is. This one is a EP 4530, and there's a little numeral down there as well. I think there's a 1 on there. Now obviously they're going to keep the sticker from sticking down entirely along the length of the prop blade. So what you can do, using the less coarse side of your sanding stick, is just remove them so that they're not protruding anymore. Now obviously you will scuff up your prop blade, but because we're covering it, that shouldn't be an issue. Just make sure that the dust that's created is wiped off and the blade is clean, so that the dust doesn't get under the sticker and cause it to not stick. So you can just feel with your finger whether you've got rid of that. There we go. Yep, that's all gone. So let's apply our stickers. Now the easiest way to do this, because the stickers are quite sticky and the surface is very acceptable of the stick, we will wet the blade and we'll wet the sticker to prevent it from sticking immediately. So just using a bit of the old tongue water and onto the back of the sticker as well. And then pop the blade on, and then we should have plenty of time to shift it around, get it aligned. There we go. And do exactly the same on the other side. So once you're happy you've got it lined up, then it's just time to put it to one side and let the moisture evaporate, which could take a few hours, and we can come back to that later and pop it onto the aircraft. So whilst once again we're waiting for the wings to dry, there are a couple of other things that we can do. There are, on your plastic sheet, there are a couple of final bits that can be done, especially around the tail area. So we've got these little parts here, which I haven't got labelled on mine, but they are P32, and there are 2 of them. And these are little sort of metal pegs on the original aircraft that actually go either side of the tail skid, and they're used to retain the elastic suspension of the tail skid on the original aircraft. Now, our tail skid doesn't move and is not suspended, but as a bit of detail that we can add to the aircraft, we can use these little pegs and some of the rigging wire to mock up that particular detail of the aircraft. So these should be scored down the center, so there we go, and you should be able to fold them over on one another like so. So you create a little T shape. So let's just do that. Very easy to lose these, so do be careful. It's worth keeping an eye on them. But what I'm going to do is, where's my tape? There. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to put that one in there for now. Let's glue this one up. So I'm just going to fold that on itself. I'm just going to use small pliers. I'm just going to use that to compress it and then align it whilst I've got the opportunity. Go. So I'm going to put that in the ring, if it would allow me to. There we go. And let's grab the other one. So I'll just bend it over. I'll do this actually. Probably a better idea is to, before gluing it, just make sure that it folds well on itself. Then open it out, add a teeny tiny bit of glue, there we go. Now those eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed during the build, or will be able to see now, that there are a couple of little grey graphics plus a little notch either side of the tail skid on the corner of the foam sides. Now where that notch is, you can just take the tip of the knife and just make sure that you can push through on that, and just have a little bit of a wiggle just to open it up a bit. This will make installing those little pieces a lot easier. Okay, so let's grab one of these with the tweezers. And I'm just going to pop that into the little slot we created. There we go. Oh, and I just decided to stick to my tweezers. That's a shame. Let's try that again. There we go. So I'm just letting it rest in there at the moment. We'll do the same on the other side. There we go. So now they're in place. I'm just going to position them so that they are. Oh, that one's come out. Wouldn't be detail if it wasn't fiddly. Okay, so I positioned them either side like so, and now I'm going to secure them with a teeny tiny bit of the CA. There we go. So that should hold them nicely now in place. Good. So we'll let those dry, and we can rig those up later. Staying on the tail, we've also got a P28, which I think this has actually already been removed. There we go. So P28 actually sits, there's a slot at on the tail just around about here, which should be open, and with the graphic facing up, the whole strut goes through that slot, and then you've got down on the tail horizontal stabilizer here, you've got these little slots here that the ends go into. So to prepare this part, P28, we first need to fold it in the center. It has been scored, so it should fold so that there's a little piece left in the middle that sits on the or between or through the vertical stabilizer, and then at the ends here we should be able to fold these down, the ends, like that and like that. So now it's just a matter of popping this through the slot so that we get half of it through. There we go. And then securing each of those that the ends into the slots there and there, like so. And then you can use either a little bit of the foam to foam, or like I am here, I'm just going to use the what I'm going to do. This is a full bottle. Just going to take a little bit. There we go. So I'm just popping a tiny little drop onto a piece of wire to get that in the area and not flood it with a whole load of glue. So I did manage to get a big blob of it on the cutting mat, so I'm just going to clean the nozzle up as well. And then do the same for the vertical stabilizer as well. Just make sure that it's all lined up. Okay, I'm going to probably use that little transfer trick again, if I can. Maybe need a little bit more. There we go. Oh, perfect. Wicks straight in there. So we'll just leave that to dry now. And then we have P29 and P30, which are actually struts that go on the underside of the stabilizer. So let's just get these out. So if I grab one, this is P30. This front part here, you notice there's a little hole in it, and that tab should fold upwards like so. So you've got it happening just like that. So this part here with that hole goes to the leading edge of the horizontal stabilizer, and there's a little cutout that you'll hopefully notice just at the on the outer sort of rib. Well, there's a rib graphic there, and that actually sits like so, and then this strut comes to the fuselage, and you'll notice there's a point on it. Now that's to stab into the side of the fuselage, but what we'll do is we're actually going to attach this to the leading edge first, and I'm actually going to use foam to foam for this because it gives us a bit of time, and it should also grab. So just adding a little bit to that cutout at the front. And then I'm just going to pop the strut in place like so. And then I'm just going to let the two come apart, let it dry off, and then we'll use the stickiness, the instant grab, to get that put onto the underside, and then we can work out where this is going to go into the fuselage, or which position it's going to go into, and we can use our scalpel just to push a little hole through so we can attach that, and then I'll secure it probably using the CA glue. Okay, let's pop that into position. When you do, make sure that that little hole that's in the end of it just sits slightly above the horizontal stabilizer, just there. Now let's sort out our position here. So this comes up to the fuselage, and it's going to go through just there. So that should now give us the opportunity to pop that. There we go. Something a little more grippy. There we go. So now I can secure that in the fuselage using a teeny tiny bit CA. There we go. So I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side using P29, but there is a little piece of wire that's in the way, which is our elevator control wire. Now this will probably be better off going underneath it than over the top of it. So once again, just bend the protrusion over at 90 degrees, and then we'll attach at the front here. Need to clear my nozzle. Okay. Because these struts are supremely flexible, obviously we can once that's attached, we'll just rest it on top. But once it's glued, then we can do what we need to do with it. As you can see, it's actually resting on top of that control rod at the moment, so it is likely to be much better if we go underneath than try and get it across the top there, because it'll just add drag to the control wire. What we can do while we're here is, because we know where this one went into the fuselage, we'll just do exactly the same on the opposite side and make sure that there is the ability to get that point into the fuselage. Okay, well, I'll just let that dry off. Okay, so let's flex this underneath our control rod, and then into the fuselage. There we go. Just need to get that in a little bit further. It's a little bit bowed at the moment. There we go. And then we can secure that once again with a little bit of the CA glue. There we go. So that's the strut work done on the tail. So let's turn our attention now to the rigging. Done with the stickers. We really are getting there. Okay, let's clear some room here. So with the rigging, we just need to start where it all originally started from. What came off then? Something dropped. Anyway, I don't know. So, the point where we start from is where we originally attached at the rear point of the little attachment point that we installed right at the beginning of the build. And so literally pull through and then just keep moving. So I originally pulled at the top there, that was our first point to go through. And then that comes down to the lower point here. I'm just going to pull that taut. And then that goes up to this point here. Just pull that through. And then down the rear part of the cabane struts, like so. That goes through the lower part of the interplanes at the back, and then that comes up to the front and then back to our attachment point. So everything looks to be fairly taut. The only thing is that first one that we did, that has a little bit of slack in it. So I'm just going to pull that through. And it's just a process of moving these through. Sometimes it's actually easier to do it with the fingers, just so you can get a good grip on it and you can feel the tension itself. There we go. So I'm just going to leave that on that side like it is and just continue the process on the starboard side, I should say. That comes up to there. looks so much tidier once these are all taut. There we go, so that's tensioned as well. And now once again check for any twists. I think we're good. Everything looks nice and taut. So now is the point we secure these at the position, at the final position. So the way I do that is I actually tie these two pieces together that come from either side of both wings. Tie them together at the front, and then I can hang this up, and the weight of the aircraft provides tension on those final points there. What I'm going to do is hang this up and then add a little bit of CA glue to each of those end points. Now that's not the final piece, but what that does is that locks them in position, and then we can, once that glue is dry, we can tie them off. So once again I'll use my dropper method. It seems to be working well. Okay, that's one side done. And there's the other side done. So now I'll take the aircraft and then I shall hang that up, probably on my microphone stand, which is just sitting to the side of me here, and let that create the tension while the glue goes off. So while that's drying, the final pieces of the puzzle can be put together. Firstly, we have our pilot. So if you're using the 2D pilot, it's a very simple process of cutting the pilot out and folding him together. There's a score line there, so that little hook there, you'll notice that when it comes to putting him in the aircraft, that just slots up the wall that sits at the back of the cockpit, and that should provide enough area to stick him on and keep him positioned in the center of the aircraft. There we go. So that's glue transferred. I'll let that fall open and then we'll push it back together once the glue has dried. And the other part that we can do is, we've got the prop sorted, but the prop adapter has got this little nubbin at the end there. What we can do with that is remove it, and that allows us to put the prop boss decoration on, which gives the center of the propeller a little more sort of authenticity to the scale. So let's just going to sand anything off and rough it up a bit as well. Obviously it's rubber, it's not the easiest thing to stick to, so having a little bit of surface area there for the glue to grab is always a good thing. So that's on there. Now on our plastics sheet there should be one more thing left, and that's P31, and that is the prop boss decoration. So let's just pop that out, and that's our plastics done with. And this sits onto the prop adapter on the front there, like so. And all we need to do is pop that on with a bit of foam to foam, and that should be plenty enough to hold it in place. There we go. So we'll just let that dry off. Bring our pilot together, like so. There we are. Right. Let's see how our rigging is doing. Well, that's definitely on its way. Whilst we're waiting for that, let's just do our final bit of rigging at the tail. So, just need a shorter mount. We need our threader, and what we're going to do is pop the threader through one of these little holes that we've installed, like so. And before we pull the rigging through, we're just going to tie a small knot at the end of one end, and then trim right at the other side of that knot. There we go. And then we'll pull our rigging through, obviously the non-knot side. Go. So that's one side done. Now there is a tiny little hole at the front of the vertical stabilizer, just there. We're just going to pop the rigging tool through that, like so, and then pull our rigging through. There we go. I'm being quite delicate when doing that, because obviously it'd be quite easy to snap through that foam out front, which is not, it's not going to ruin it, but you need to obviously add a little dab of glue, and then we need to pull this end back through on the other side, where we have our other bit. This is the end of the strut that we installed earlier. So pull this through. There we go. And then secure that with another bit of the CA glue. Where's my little dabber gone? There it is. Okay, just trying to put some tension on there. I'll try and actually decrease the radius of the bend of the rigging as well. I'm not going to tie a knot in this, but what I am going to do is just try and get the rigging to come back on itself. There we go. Excellent. Good. So we've got that rigging on. There is one last piece of rigging, and that is actually not rigging at all, but we are using the rigging wire to do it, and that is on our tail skid to emulate the elastic of the suspension system on the tail skid. So what we're attempting to do is the two little T-bars that I actually installed, we're going to thread the rigging wire through the end of the tail skid, which has a nice conveniently placed hole in it, like so, and then we're going to create a loop like that and pull this end back through the hole in the tail skid. Like so. So we've got a loop one side, and then on the other side we're going to do exactly the same and go in from this side and pull this end through to create a second loop. There we go. And then if we pull everything together and make sure that each of those loops goes around our little T-bar. So there we go, round one end, round the other. And we've got ourselves a little bit of detail using our rigging, and we will stick in the center there using our wonderful CA. There we go. And then when it comes to it, we can trim off those ends when everything is dried off. So now we've got all of the rigging on. I've given it a little bit of time to dry off overnight, And what I need now is my special reserve blade that I only use for trimming the rigging. Well, until it won't trim rigging anymore, and then I can use it just as a normal blade. But this rigging requires some sharp cutting, so that's why we do it. And so it's just a matter of now trimming off the ends as close to the end points, starting points, as I can. So I'm just going to move around the aircraft, try not to cut where it's not required, like through the fuselage or through the existing rigging. So on the tail here I'm cutting upwards on the mock elastic that we've got there. I've got one on the here on the undercarriage as well, so I'm going to just take that off too. There we go. And then at the front here, you could attempt to tie these off, but the glue has made them quite stiff down the bottom here, so I am just going to remove, and the glue is certainly substantial enough to keep the rigging there. So just using this very fresh blade, it makes cutting through the rigging wire pretty straightforward. Doesn't require a huge amount of force. So there we have all our trimming done, so there's no dangly bits anymore. And gosh, we're nearly there. So we can put the pilot in. Obviously he sits in the little cockpit here, and if I just do a quick dry fit, goes in, that hooks under, let's drag him around a bit, hooks under, I've dropped him inside. Oh dear. Right, come out. There we go. I'm going to use something a little more substantial than the plastic tweezers. There we go. Little pair of pliers. And then he sits just there. So he's actually a little bit low, I think, in the cockpit for my liking. So I'm actually going to trim a little. So, put my rigging trimming blade back in its pack, in its safe place, and I'm just going to trim a little more into this slot, so I can have my pilot sitting a little bit higher than he has been. There we go, a couple of millimeters. And then I'll add a little bit of glue to the slot so he stays in place. Needs a bit of clearance. Is that it? There we go. And then we'll pop it in. Okay. And there we go. So he's sitting a couple of millimeters higher now. That's exactly where I need him. Fantastic. So, onto the propeller. So essentially all we need to do, now that the sticker on the prop has dried substantially. We can press that all home, make sure that it's all sticking down nicely. Then we can pop our little rubber boss through the center. Make sure it's down all the way through. And then we just need to wind it onto our prop shaft. And I'm just going to use my tweezers to hold the motor in place so that the prop shaft doesn't move. And then wind the prop on as far as I dare. Nearly there. There we go. So that's not impacting on the sides of the aircraft. Excuse me. And that's absolutely perfect. So we've got our hatch. I'm going to just quickly add a little battery. As you can see, it's a nice fit there, and you've got a little bit of room as well for the cable. And just pop this in place. The power cable needs to shift out of the way for now. I won't connect it up because I'm actually going to test the center of gravity. So let's just put this in place. There we go. Still goes round, and then the center of gravity should be on the crease on the top wing. So I know it's quite difficult for you to see, but that is sitting near perfectly. Maybe a little tail down, but it's pretty good. So I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, fabulous. Well, there you go. That actually completes the full build for the Aviatik Berg D.1. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I hope yours flies particularly well. Cheerio.